Welcome to Martha's Stories.
I woke up in a motel room that smelled like bleach and old air. My purse was open on the chair. The wallet was gone. No cash. No cards. No photo of my husband from 1982. No insurance card. Nothing. Just a laminated checkout slip on the nightstand. Room 106. Checkout 11 o'clock. No re-entry after departure. They'd said it was just for one night. "It's just a quick break, Mom," Rachel had smiled. "You need rest. We'll come pick you up after brunch tomorrow. Promise." I should have known. The night before, they dropped me off like a donation. Jason didn't even turn off the engine. I'd climbed out slow, knees stiff, still holding the container with lemon pie. Rachel kissed my cheek too fast. Jason barely looked up. The motel door clicked shut behind me before I'd even turned the light on. Now it was morning. My phone charger was still in Rachel's car. The battery had died sometime during the night. I sat there on the edge of the bed for 10, maybe 15 minutes, staring at the door. I wasn't confused. I was processing. And that's worse. It's not the motel that hurt. It's the decision. They didn't forget me. They left me. I got dressed, same clothes from yesterday, and walked outside. The parking lot was already half empty. There was no sign of their SUV. Just heat rising off asphalt and the hum of vending machines near the office. At the front desk, a young woman with purple nails looked up without much interest. "Did someone leave a message for Marilyn Carter?" I asked. She checked a clipboard. "Nope. Just the room key. You're all set to check out." I nodded. Walked back to the room. Packed the pie, though I'd lost my appetite. The wallet wasn't the worst part. It was the silence. No call. No text. No excuse. They didn't erase me. They replaced me. And I finally understood. You're not a burden when you need help. You're a burden when you stop giving it. I left the key at the counter and stepped out into the sun. I didn't know where I was. Just somewhere outside Knoxville, near a freeway and a gas station. I could have sat on the curb and waited. Called a taxi. Asked for help. But I didn't. I walked. Because if you wait long enough to be rescued, you start to forget how to move. I passed a payphone. Broken. Figures. Kept going until I reached the gas station. A teenager was restocking chips inside. I asked if I could borrow a phone. He handed it over, eyes flicking to the pie in my hands. "That lemon?" he asked. I nodded. "Used to be." He didn't laugh. I dialed Rachel. No answer. I tried again. Voicemail. Third time, I didn't leave a message. What do you even say when your kids leave you like luggage in a motel hallway? Nothing. You say nothing. Because silence, sometimes, is all that's left when love turns invisible. Yesterday felt warmer than it should have. Rachel had called in the afternoon. "Mom, Jason found this cute little place on Route 9. You'll love it, super quiet. Just for the night, okay? We need the house empty for a bit." I paused. "Empty for what?" She laughed like I was being silly. "He's redoing the floors." "The fumes. You can't sleep in that mess." "It's just one night. We'll pick you up after brunch." I hesitated. I always hesitated with Rachel. She'd made me feel like a guest in her house since the day I moved in after my surgery, after the fall, after the nurse said it wasn't safe for me to live alone. But I packed my overnight bag. I added the lemon pie I'd baked that morning. Tucked in the envelope of old family photos I'd been organizing. The ones Rachel never had time to look at. Even added Jason's favorite blanket from the couch. I still believed in gestures. We pulled into the motel lot just before dusk. Jason didn't bother getting out of the car. The engine stayed on. I remember that. Rachel opened the door for me, helped me out. She hugged me quickly, like she was late for something. I looked up at the flickering motel sign. "This isn't really your style," I joked. She smiled too brightly. "You'll be fine. It's just for one night." She said that 3 times. That exact phrase. I waved as they drove off. The SUV turned out of the lot and disappeared behind a gas truck. The room smelled like cleaning fluid and something older, like mildew behind a fresh coat of effort. I laid the pie on the dresser. Took off my shoes. Sat down carefully, knees still stiff from winter. The room had a single lamp. A microwave that blinked midnight. I called Rachel. No answer. Probably driving, I told myself. I turned on the TV. The remote barely worked. I watched a rerun of some home renovation show with the volume low. Tried calling again around 9. No voicemail set up. By 10, I stopped trying. I laid down in my clothes. I left the lamp on in case they came knocking. But nobody knocked. That's the thing about trust. You don't notice how heavy it is until it drops through you like glass. In the dark, I looked over at the envelope on the nightstand. Photos of my kids, birthday parties, Jason in his college cap and gown, Rachel with braces and a lemonade stand. The envelope was sealed with a piece of string. I untied it, held the photos. Didn't cry. Not yet. I was still someone's mother. I just didn't know if I was still someone's person. And in that silence, something soft inside me quietly fractured. I walked down the side of Route 9 until I found a diner with a neon sign that buzzed louder than the cars passing by. The kind of place where the coffee's always hot but tastes like burnt hope. Inside, a waitress with a tired ponytail slid a menu toward me without asking. I ordered oatmeal and tea, mostly so I could sit. At the next booth over, a young couple argued quietly over a phone bill. The woman's voice was sharp but controlled. I watched her hands, tied around a mug, not shaking. I wondered if Rachel ever argued with that kind of precision. I used to think I raised her to be soft. Turns out, I raised her to survive. The waitress came back with a mug of hot water and a paper packet of tea. "You okay, ma'am?" she asked, not prying, just present. "I got dropped off last night," I said. "Supposed to be one night. But I think the night turned into something else." She paused. "You need help calling someone?" I smiled. "No. But thank you." I pulled out my phone again, hoping for a charge. "Dead." The waitress gestured to a wall near the back. "We've got an outlet. Use it as long as you need." I plugged in. Waited. When the screen lit up, I had no missed calls. No texts. But one thing caught my eye. A notification from Rachel's shared Google Calendar. She'd added me last year after the surgery, so I'd stay in the loop. The entry read, "Motel drop, finalize wallpapers/clean out guest room." Timestamped, yesterday 6:15 p.m. My oatmeal went cold in front of me. I clicked to see the rest of the calendar. Tomorrow. Call realtor mom's house/safe box. The line blurred. Not from tears. From disbelief. They weren't taking a break from me. They were moving on without me. I wasn't a mother anymore. I was a file to be closed. Across the room, the couple got up and left. The booth still warm from their bodies. I took a bite of the oatmeal. It tasted like paste. I stood up, unplugged my phone, left 2 crumpled bills on the table. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew one thing. If I stayed still long enough, they'd write me out like a stain. Outside, the morning had turned harsh. Sunlight too white. Sky too empty. I started walking again. Not toward home. Toward whatever was left of me. I didn't go back to the motel. Instead, I walked 3 blocks until I found the Greyhound station. The building looked forgotten. A flickering sign, a bench with peeling paint, and one vending machine blinking error in red. Inside, the air smelled like old sandwiches and worn shoes. But it was quiet. There were only 2 other people, a man asleep with a duffel bag under his feet, and a girl maybe 20, scrolling through her phone with the look of someone trying not to cry. I sat down near the far wall, where the payphones used to be. I didn't need a destination. I needed distance. There's a difference. I pulled out a pen from my bag and the back of a receipt from the diner. Wrote 1 word on it. Enough. Folded it. Put it in my coat pocket. Sometimes silence isn't surrender. Sometimes it's the start of walking away. I stared at the digital board overhead. Departures. Memphis. Richmond. Tallahassee. Names that meant nothing and still sounded better than back home. I wasn't angry. Not like people expect. No yelling. No tears. Just the slow burn of understanding. That you were never really welcome. Just tolerated. I closed my eyes and thought of the last time someone asked me what I wanted. Not what I could help with. Not what I could give. But what I wanted. I couldn't remember. A woman's voice broke through the intercom. Route 315 to Charleston now boarding. The girl across the room stood up quickly, backpack slung over one shoulder. She looked at me for a second, hesitated, then walked over. "Ma'am," she said, soft. "Do you need help? You look like you're waiting for something." I met her eyes. Green. Clear. Tired. "I'm not waiting," I said. "I'm remembering how to move." She smiled. It was small, but real. "Safe travels," she said. "Same to you." She left. The door clicked shut behind her. The bus roared to life. I stayed in that quiet room. I didn't buy a ticket. Not yet. But I pulled out my phone, now half-charged, and searched. Women's shelters near me. Short-term rentals, no stairs. Elder Legal Aid, Tennessee. A man at the ticket window glanced up. "You need a ride somewhere, ma'am?" I shook my head. "Not yet. Just catching my breath." He nodded. Went back to his paper. They expected me to sit still. Expected me to wait. They forgot that even shadows move when the light shifts. I got up, tucked my coat around me, and stepped outside. I still didn't know where I was going. But for the first time in weeks, I wasn't walking in circles. I found a small coffee shop 2 blocks from the station. Brick walls, crooked art, a single bathroom key on a spoon rest. I ordered plain coffee. No cream, no sugar. Just something hot to hold. A barista with chipped black polish handed me the cup. "You paying card or app?" I reached for my bag automatically, then froze. "Of course." "No wallet." I looked up, ready to explain, but before I could speak, she waved her hand. "Don't worry about it. Happens all the time." I nodded, barely holding eye contact. I took my cup to the corner and pulled out my phone. Opened my bank app. Locked out. Wrong password. Try again. I tried again. Same message. Then I checked my email. There it was. Notification. Your password has been changed. Date. Yesterday, 7:43 p.m. Right after they dropped me off. I clicked deeper. 2 days ago. New user added to account. Rachel A. Dawson. My hands didn't shake. They went still. Not just forgotten. Replaced. Accessed. Used. I checked the family cloud folder. The one where we'd kept documents for emergencies. Gone. Removed from shared access. I tried calling the bank. A robot voice asked for verification. And all I could think was, they didn't just close the door. They locked it from the inside, with my name still on the welcome mat. I sat there, letting the coffee go cold. The barista glanced over, then walked to my table. "You okay?" I looked up. She couldn't have been more than 25. Sharp eyeliner, quiet kindness. "Do you have a name?" I asked. "Joe." "Joe," I said, slowly. "You ever wake up and realize everything you thought was solid was actually quicksand?" She gave a half smile. "Yeah, that's called Tuesday." That made me laugh, just a little. Enough to hurt. "You need a charger?" she asked. I nodded. She brought one from behind the counter. No questions. When I plugged in, the screen lit up with an old voicemail I hadn't noticed. Jason's voice. Clipped. Cold. "We didn't want it to be like this. But you've made it hard to plan anything. It's time we moved forward. Please don't make this harder than it is. No apology. No ownership. Just removal. You didn't die. But we already live without you." That's what it was. I was too much memory, not enough utility. I left the coffee shop without saying goodbye. Outside, the wind had picked up. It made my coat flap like something untethered. And I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I was awake. They thought they'd dimmed the light, but they'd just opened the window. I found a library a mile from the coffee shop. Red brick, heavy doors, that soft smell of old paper and carpet cleaner. The woman at the front desk didn't ask questions when I requested a guest pass for the computer lab. Just handed me a slip and pointed left. The room was quiet. A few kids playing games with headphones on. One man sleeping with his arms folded across the keyboard. I sat at the end, turned on the screen, and opened the browser. First search. Elder Legal Aid, Tennessee. Second. Financial exploitation by adult children. Third. Can power of attorney be revoked without consent? The answers weren't pretty, but they were possible. It wasn't revenge I was looking for. It was my name, my signature, my spine. I opened my email and searched for the name I hadn't typed in years. Clara H. Brenner, attorney at law. Clara had handled Derek's estate when he passed. She'd given me her card and said, "Call if anything ever gets weird." I never thought I'd need it. But here we were. I sent her a short message. "This is Marilyn Carter. I believe I need help reclaiming my legal autonomy. Can you advise?" Then I searched Craigslist. Apartments, studios, senior housing. Most were out of reach. Too expensive, too far, too many stairs. But one caught my eye. Small 1BR, porch, no stairs. Utilities included. Quiet. Available immediately. There was even a photo, a little front step, a chipped blue chair, a bird feeder hanging off the gutter. I printed it, folded it carefully, slid it into the envelope where I kept my husband's last letter. Next, I searched for bus routes, then for storage units, then for moving boxes. I wrote it all down, step by step. I wasn't planning to run. I was planning to disappear without apology. They'd expect a confrontation, a lecture, a voicemail full of hurt. But I wasn't leaving a trace. No note, no performance, just absence. The kind that grows louder with each unanswered call. I logged out, stood up, tucked the paper deep into my coat. At the exit, a librarian held the door for me. "You find what you were looking for?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "But I found what I needed to start." She nodded like she understood. There's a certain look women give each other, when we both know what it means to stop explaining. Outside, the wind was colder now. Early spring sharpness in the air. I pulled the coat tighter. I didn't know what would happen next. But for the first time in years, I was the one writing the next sentence. The next morning, I found a room. Not mine, not permanent, but quiet. It was above a florist shop on a narrow street with uneven sidewalks. The kind of place where no one expects visitors, and the neighbors mind their own business. The woman who showed it to me was maybe 50, wore a gray hoodie, and smelled faintly of lilies. "No elevator," she said, unlocking the side door. "But it's just one flight. You okay with stairs?" I nodded. Inside was one room, a twin bed, a hot plate, a tiny table pressed against the window. No decorations, but the window faced east. Morning light always mattered more to me than furniture. "How long you thinking?" she asked. "Just a few weeks," I said. "Maybe a little more." "You running from something?" I smiled. "Running toward." She studied me for a second, then said, "Rent's due Fridays." "I don't do drama." "You seem quiet." "That's good." She handed me the key. "Welcome home, I guess." I stood there after she left, looking around, listening. No TV. No voices. No footsteps overhead. Just the hum of a cooler downstairs and the occasional thump of someone dropping boxes of roses. It was perfect. I unpacked slowly, one change of clothes, the envelope with my husband's letter, the folded ad for the blue-chaired porch, Clara's reply printed out from the library. Her email had said, "Yes, I can help. Come in Monday. Bring anything you still have in writing." I had almost nothing left. But it was enough. That afternoon, I went down to the florist's to buy a coffee from the machine. A teenage girl was arranging carnations into bundles. She looked up and said, "You're the new upstairs tenant?" I nodded. "Marilyn." "I'm Sarah." She hesitated, then added, "You look like someone who just got out." I raised an eyebrow. "Out of where?" She shrugged. "Something heavy." I smiled. "That's one way to put it." She reached into a bucket and pulled out a small, bent daisy. "It's not pretty, but it's free." I took it. "Thank you." She paused, then said, "You're not from around here, right?" "No," I said. "But maybe I'm the kind of person who comes back different." She grinned. "Those are the best kind. You don't need to scream to be heard. Sometimes, just not being where they expect you. That's the loudest thing you can do." I walked back up, daisy in hand, set it in a chipped glass by the window. Let the light catch it. The wind outside rattled the old glass, but it held. So did I. 3 days passed before Rachel found me. I don't know how. Maybe the email to Clara triggered something. Maybe someone at the bank finally noticed the change in login activity. She showed up at the florist shop on a Thursday afternoon, wearing sunglasses too big for her face and holding a reusable cup she didn't drink from. I saw her through the window. She stood awkwardly by the door, not sure whether to come in. Sarah glanced at me, then at Rachel. "You want me to say you're out?" I shook my head. "Let her in. She came to see something." Rachel walked in like she was late to a meeting. Not frantic. Just uncomfortable. "Mom," she said. "We've been worried. You haven't called." I looked at her, waited. "We didn't know where you went." I let the silence stretch. Let her hear it. "You just left." She said it like I'd slipped out of a dinner party early. Like I'd been rude. "You dropped me at a motel," I said finally. "Took my wallet. Changed the passwords. And left." She flinched. Not at the words, at the fact I said them. "You're misunderstanding." "No," I said, voice flat. "I'm not." She shifted. "Jason thought. We thought it would be easier if." I cut her off. "If I disappeared quietly. Like background noise." She blinked. "It wasn't like that." "It was exactly like that." She sat down on the edge of the chair near the flower fridge. Her legs bounced. Her fingers picked at the sleeve of her coat. "We didn't want it to be ugly." "It wasn't," I said. "It was efficient." A long pause. Then she whispered, "We didn't think you'd actually go." I leaned forward. Looked her in the eyes. "You thought I'd stay. Because I always stayed. Because I was convenient." She didn't deny it. "Now you know how silence sounds. From the one who always came back." She swallowed hard. "So what now?" "You live your life," I said. "And I live mine. Separately. Honestly." She stared down at her coffee, still full. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "I believe you," I said. "That doesn't mean you didn't." Outside, a delivery truck honked. The door chimed when it pulled away. Rachel stood slowly. She didn't cry. Just nodded. "I'll go then," she said. "You already did," I said. She left. The air felt clearer. Mothers don't disappear. We just stop being easy to reach. I went back upstairs. Closed the door. And, for the first time in years, didn't wait for it to open again. On Monday, I walked into Clara Brenner's office just after 9 a.m. She looked exactly the same. Short silver bob, sensible shoes, eyes like steel. She stood when she saw me. "Marilyn. Didn't expect to see you again, but I'm glad you came." I handed her the envelope. Inside, the printed emails, screenshots of the bank changes, the calendar entries, Jason's voicemail. All of it. She read without speaking, occasionally underlining something. When she looked up, she said, "You know what this is, don't you?" I nodded. "It's not a misunderstanding." "No," she said. "It's abuse. Quiet, polished, well-dressed abuse." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Clara laid out the plan. File to revoke power of attorney, report unauthorized account changes, freeze shared access to my name, my pension, my records. "You still have your ID?" she asked. I pulled it from my coat. "Driver's license and social. Originals." "Good. That makes this clean." We spent 2 hours signing things. Forms. Affidavits. Notifications. "I'll handle the filings," she said. "You'll get a new access code to your accounts. They'll be removed completely within the week." I stared at the final signature line. "You're sure they won't know where I am?" Clara smiled. "Legally? You're a ghost." It wasn't revenge. It was correction. They built a version of me that didn't speak. Now I was undoing it, line by line. On the way out, the receptionist handed me a copy of everything in a manila folder. "You heading back home?" she asked, making polite conversation. "No," I said. "I'm heading somewhere I haven't been yet." She smiled, a little confused, but didn't push. That night, back in the apartment, I lit a candle. Not for ritual. Just for warmth. I reread the letter my husband wrote the year before he died. It ended with, "You've spent your life holding others. Someday, I hope you learn to hold yourself." I'd always thought that meant something soft. Now I knew better. It meant boundaries. It meant locks. It meant the power to close a door and not flinch. The next morning, I received a call from Clara's assistant. Everything's finalized, she said. They no longer have access to any accounts or legal documents tied to your name. I thanked her. Hung up. No tears. They'd built a system where I could be erased. But I'd rewritten the rules before they finished the sentence. They would call. They would wonder. But they'd reach voicemail. And this time, I wouldn't be listening. I turned off my phone, wrapped the charger, placed it gently at the bottom of a drawer. I didn't need it anymore. The quiet wasn't scary now. It was mine. It's been 6 weeks. The daisy Sarah gave me dried out in the glass. I didn't throw it away. I just let it stay brown, delicate, still holding shape. Some mornings, I sit by the window with a cup of tea and watch the street below. The florist opens at 9. The mail truck always comes late. The woman across the way waters her plants like clockwork. No one here knows me as Rachel's mom, or the woman who had to move in after surgery, or the one who needed help. I'm just Marilyn. The porch place came through. The little one-bedroom with chipped paint and a broken step. I signed the lease yesterday. Sarah and her brother helped me move what little I had. A suitcase. Some papers. The daisy. That envelope with Derek's handwriting. I left the key to the room above the shop on the table, next to a thank you note written in pencil. No forwarding address. Just gone. I didn't announce it. I didn't explain it. Because I owed no one that part of me anymore. The kitchen in the new place is small, but the oven works. Yesterday, I baked a lemon pie. Not for a dinner. Not for anyone's birthday. Just because I wanted to smell something warm. I poured a cup of tea. Sat on the porch. Let the pie cool beside me. And I realized this is what peace feels like. No banging doors. No questions. No reaching for a phone that never rings. Just wind. And breath. And space. Sometimes I imagine Rachel's voice on the line. The voicemail I'll never hear. Mom, we didn't know what we were doing. Maybe that's true. But I do. I know exactly what I'm doing now. I'm choosing my absence. I'm building a home no one can enter with guilt. I'm sitting in the quiet and calling it sanctuary. There's a quote I read once, written on a church bulletin board. You will be too much for some people. Let them go. I used to think that was about pride. Now I know it's about mercy. Because staying too long in someone else's comfort can rot your own spine. This porch is mine. This silence is mine. This life, late as it came, is mine. I take another sip of tea. A bird lands on the railing, eyes me, then flies away. I don't move. Because I don't need to be seen anymore. Just steady. I'm not angry. I'm not broken. I'm free. Sometimes love isn't staying through the pain. Sometimes love is leaving without a speech. I didn't forgive them. I just turned off the sound. Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise even more interesting stories.